let's go ahead and just throw that trigger warning back at it just for the topic in general.
Yeah.
And it's Phoenix Kalita walked in on me reading this article before I took a nap. Mm-hmm. And it's on pinknews.co.uk. This is from the 17th. And yesterday for 20 more minutes. And this is the headline. The gender-critical feminist movement is a cult that grooms, controls, and abuses, according to a lesbian who managed to escape. Now, are you already familiar with this?
Yes.
This same story?
Yes.
I think you said you saw another one.
I saw one that was like a dovetail to this one because this one was about like TERFs, and somebody who was actually a sex trafficking victim had a very similar experience with SWERFs, and of course SWERFs and TERFs are often the same people. And so the person, which I'm looking for right now, the person who was the victim of the SWERFs wrote about it, but because they wrote theirs in response to this because they were like, oh my god, same tactics and techniques and like cult shit, and I'm looking for it right now.
Yes. This article's up by Vic Parsons, all right? pinknews.co.uk. Wait a second.
Yes.
I have Vic Parsons up here.
Yeah.
But then it also has writer Amy. Oh,
that's the person in the picture.
Okay. Oh, so that's the person that escaped was Amy.
Yes.
Amy Dyess?
I don't know how to say the last name.
Yeah. Diaz? Amy. All right. So Amy Loco got up out of there, and Amy Loco apparently because I was reading this article earlier, so I've got some of it off the top of the head here. Mm-hmm. But so she had lost a job in marketing,
yeah, and
was having a tough time living out of the car,
yeah,
and she said that they try to keep you like that, right? Because as long as you're dependent on them,
right,
you're gonna hang around,
yeah,
that whole thing,
yeah,
right? Can't let the don't let Britney Spears control her own money.
Yep,
that'll be the talking point for that, or Phoenix Kalita for that matter. Yeah, that's that bullshit. Phoenix Kalita is the older one in our relationship. Literally, yes. She's 2 years older than me.
Yes.
Has the fancy education. She can take stitches out of a person's face safely.
Yes.
And sanitary.
Yes.
Can do phlebotomy.
Yes.
Which is what I call it. And is working with Swap organization. But I have to sign Phoenix Kalita's checks.
Yep.
No. Phoenix Kalita should have to sign for me to be able to get up and do stuff. Because I do bullshit.
Oh, incidentally, Julie Bindel, because Julie Bindel's mentioned this article, Julie Bindel saw it and it now calls PinkNews PrickNews, by the way.
They're so weird.
They are.
You know what? But that's the cold game is something that we're seeing as far as forget about right wingers here. We're talking about the actual left and the fake left, right? The general Democrat left.
Yeah.
And when you look back in time and it's like, oh, look at the people on the wrong side of history. They didn't think they were.
Right.
They were actually looking at, like, Julie Bindel's looking at you and me like, look at those fuckers on the wrong side of history. Mm-hmm. They will be remembered poorly. Right. And I'm looking at you like, you're so in your echo chamber, you don't see the direction that shit is going.
Right.
Like, which one was it? Was it Real Hand Flomar or Raimana Freshly? Which one of them introduced some shit in favor of sex workers?
Presley.
So Raimana Freshly fucking is in favor of sex workers' rights, right? After niggas like you kept on flexing on that Green Party nigga, mm-hmm. Jill Stein. Jill Stein quit being a swerve. Mm-hmm. And Jill Stein got on board with decriminalizing sex work. And then didn't Sanders get on board?
Sanders...
Way later, though.
Yeah, he didn't officially come out in favor of decrim, but did support a bill that is designed to study the effects of sesta-fosta.
So, like, look at the direction that shit is going. But the swerfs are so deep in that echo chamber. I was listening to Megan Murphy's podcast, mm-hmm. as I tend to do. And they were talking about
found it.
surrogacy.
Yeah.
Which, here, off the top of your head, real quick and fast, what do you think of surrogacy?
Like, for having offspring?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have an issue with it, I guess. I mean, it does tend to be women of color and poor women who sort of get roped into it, so it's sort of like, you know, gross in that aspect, but I mean, you can make really good money doing it.
See, now I noticed they were saying what you just said, but to them, that's just misogyny and patriarchy and harming women. And it's like, they will not say capitalism.
No, it's capitalism. And the thing about that, though, is like, in order to be a surrogate, you have to be between a certain age, you have to be in a certain weight range, you have to like not be a smoker, not have, you know, use drugs. Like, you have to be like a really physically healthy person specifically to try to minimize the possible risks of the pregnancy. So like, it's not like yes, they do tend to go after poor women or women who don't necessarily have a lot of other options, but it's also not like they're picking somebody who is struggling with like alcohol addiction or somebody who's already like, you know, diabetic or has hypertension. Like, you have to be really fucking healthy to be able to do it.
They didn't say any of what you said in that whole ass episode.
Yeah.
And I listened to the whole episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's like, yo, y'all, like, I'm listening to it.
I mean, also, you can make like $30,000 a year doing it.
Huh.
So, I mean, if you're, you know, comfortable,
yeah,
you know.
I swear to fuck, like, I just kept, like, yelling at the Bluetooth speaker, like, classism, motherfucker, classism. And
No.
they won't say it.
No.
Because that's not an issue to them.
Because that's the thing, though, is they don't actually want to end classism. They very much support women being oppressed financially. It's just that they want to dictate what types of work women can do. Because they don't have an issue. Because, like, if you, like, listen to their stuff, they don't really talk a lot about, like, say, like the waitress at, you know, fucking Denny's or whatever who's getting sexually harassed all the time. How often do they talk about her? But they have a lot to say about sex work, you know, being sexually abusive, or they have a lot to say about, it's just a broodmare if you're, you know, doing the surrogacy thing. But, like, how often do they talk about how fucked up it was with that lean-in feminism shit when, you know, women who weren't at that level were being underpaid? They don't talk about that. So, yeah, they're perfectly okay with classism. Yeah.
The goddamn fucking fuckers.
Well, I mean, and then, of course, you know, when it comes to classism, who's the, you know, primary victims? It's people who were already in poverty, and it's mostly, like, non-white women, so, you know, who gives a fuck about them anyway?
Fucking swerfs and TERFs.
Yep.
One of these days before I die, I'm gonna meet two people. One of whom is a swerf that is not a TERF, and one of whom is a TERF that is not a swerf.
Oh, I can show you those people.
Oh, fuck, they're real.
They're rare, but yeah, that's more of a European thing than an American thing, though.
They're always classier, even in their oppression.
I've seen some Irish feminists who are, yeah.
Which one?
They're both, actually.
They're swerfs and not TERFs?
Yeah, and TERFs and not swerfs. Or, sorry, both ways I've seen it, where they're a swerf but not a TERF, and a TERF but not a swerf. Because I've seen the ones where, like, their primary focus is, like trans women in prisons, because they're like, oh, it's just a man who's gonna rape all the other female inmates, and like that sort of thing. But they won't, like, be opposed to sex workers working, because, like, they do have a good class praxis. So, like, they're not swerfs. They're like, oh, well, it's shitty, but, you know, you do what you have to do to survive, and I'm not gonna, like, try to legislate against you for it. But they will, like, be all up in arms about trans women in women's prisons. But then, like, I've also seen ones who are very, like, okay with trans women, but they hate sex workers. And it's just, like, it's really fucking weird. It's so fucking weird. But man, yeah, they're definitely the minority.
Yeah, it's an interesting article. There is a lot to it. Let's take a look a little bit of it. A cult that groomed her when she was vulnerable and sleeping in her car. A cult that sought to control her, keeping tabs on her movements, and dictating what she could and couldn't say. Excuse me. A cult that was emotionally and sexually abusive towards her. As Amy began to notice more and more red flags about the GC movement, they call that gender critical.
Yeah, which is just TERF.
Yeah. The GC movement, like how it defended abusive women, how it wouldn't let lesbians speak out about sexual assault perpetrated by women, and how it was forming alliances with homophobic groups.
Yep.
She started asking questions. And last year, she began speaking out against what she saw as increasingly blatant homophobia in the gender-critical movement. And yeah, I'll link this up for folks. Think it's gosh darn interesting. It is wine celery. But I don't want to riff too much on it because, again, I am, and this isn't to be like self-deprecating social justice, but I am an ignorant cis person. I fucking am. So I don't riff too much. I try to make it more news and more just like stop oppressing folks.
Yes.
More so than trying to get into and this is how I would pontificate on the philosophical. Nah, nigga. Just stop fucking with people.
Yeah, and of course this was Amy Dyess, and then Kelly Lawrence is the person I was thinking of who has been who's a survivor of sex trafficking, who said, after this came out, said, my experience with the prostitution abolitionist side of the movement was there, but by reading Amy Dyess' story in PinkNews today about her experience in the TERF call, it hit home how similar our experiences was and how insidious the tactics of these people really are. The gaslighting, suppression of dissent, the skewed separatist view of the world, and the insistence there was one right view were all hallmarks of an ideological cult. Yeah. Yeah. And, like, I noticed in this one from PinkNews where Amy was talking about, like, they wanted her to stay in the UK, and they were, like oh, yeah. Julie Bindel was gonna, like, find her a wife, and I was like, that is some fucking high-level cult shit.
Yeah.
Like, find you a wife so you can get papers and stay here and, like, be in our movement. And oddly enough, Julie Bindel's also tied to the abolitionist movement. Yeah, and this is just, like, Kelly talks about it and says that she was exploited as a survivor. This is common. We're exploited financially and emotionally, encouraged to speak for no compensation at events, repeating over and over our trauma stories with no aftercare or safeguarding in place. Our stories are then manipulated and used to push an agenda aimed to abolish sex work via the Nordic model. Yeah. Yeah, so it was, like, very similar just how the things went. And, of course, this is all very interesting, just the timing, because we just did the Swapcast, where we talked about, like, the time frame, right? So it was, like, March, anti-sex work orgs or rescue orgs were saying to ban Pornhub, and then a couple months later, the Catholic bishops came out and said, we need to crack down on porn. And then a month later, there was the article about don't let online porn subscriptions exist anymore, ban credit card companies from doing it. Right. Yeah. So,
is there anything that, like, us regular folks, right? Because, like, yeah, we have a Facebook page with, that's just almost at 100,000 followers.
So close.
And, but then, in general, like, I'm just some fucker with a Facebook account. What can I say? What can I do? Like, is there, like, to combat these folks in the free market of ideas?
Oh, God, I hate the free market of ideas. I think the biggest things is sharing words from actual sex workers and actual people who have been trafficked, because the narratives that are being, like, the narratives that are being pushed are not actually accurate to people's life experiences. And that's why it's really interesting that because if you think about just on a basic level, they're like, oh, there's, like 10 million people trafficked every year and like millions of girls are trafficked in the industry. Then where are they? Why aren't you finding them, and why aren't they being allowed to speak? They're not allowed to be the face of speaking for the movement, whether they've been in sex work consensually or as trafficked victims, and there's a reason for that, and that's because people who are controlling the movement want to control the narratives about how harmful sex work is, or how it's all abuse, or how it's all paid rape. And another big thing is that they do is they say everyone who disagrees with them is actually a pimp running a fake account. So, like, all these sex workers who are on social media are all fake accounts. So just signal boost them and be like, hey, look, it's a real person. There's, like, videos of this person. There's pictures of this person. Obviously, it's a real person posting. And then just keep in mind that, these orgs are claiming to be, like, radical feminist, or they're claiming to be leftist, but they're very much in bed with religious organizations that hate women for the most part. Like, a lot of these organizations are also anti-abortion, they're anti-LGBTQ, they'll, like, straight up deny services if you're queer or if you're trans. They, like, will not give you, like, condoms, which is, maybe kind of important to avoid pregnancy. Or if you're pregnant, they will not, they would not take you to get an abortion. They encourage police to arrest you. They encourage deportation. I think a lot of folks don't know, like, those type of things. Like, people think, like, oh, we're saving sex trafficking victims, most people don't know police can actually rape sex trafficking victims legally and then arrest them for raping them.
Yep.
And it's like, people don't know that. So it's like, that sort of information of like what's really going on, I think is just important because folks don't know.
Fucking, you got me thinking something, right? Like, because anyone they disagree with, what do they call them?
Pimp lobby.
They just call you that. And by pimp lobby, like, they're basically saying you have an agenda.
Yeah.
Right? You have something that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right? And right now, these days, when some liberal Democrat doesn't like you, Russian troll, Russian bot.
Yep.
So again, they're applying intent to you, something that you're trying to do, which is why they don't like you, as opposed to this is just a word we say to signal to our followers that they're not supposed to like you.
Right.
But then over here on the anti-capitalist left, if you're saying some shit that's in favor of land leeches, corporations, and whatnot, shut up, bootlicker.
Right.
Right? Or like,
right.
If you're a cop, shut up, pig.
Right.
Like, we just call you what the fuck you are. We don't gotta make up shit. I like being in the anti-capitalist left. Our echo chambers are honest.
They are. And I think that's actually something that almost should be discussed too, just because it's so fucking, like, sadistic. Because a lot of people who are in the sex trade industry have had, like, really difficult experiences in there, whether that's, like, dealing with assault or dealing with extreme poverty or homelessness or dealing with being a victim of sex trafficking or, being under a pimp. And they're like, oh, that's you. And it's like, how fucked up is it to tell somebody who's been homeless and a victim of, like, sex trafficking that they're a pimp? Like, there's a fucking level of, like, cruelty to that.
Sadism.
Yes.
Say the word, folks. We're over 1,000 episodes at this point. You should be fucking... We did our part.
Yes.
Now you say the fucking word. Next time you're at the thing in the place with the people talking about the thing and they're like, what the... Well, why would they do that?
Because they're sadists.
They're sadistic.
Yes.
And then pull out your smart device and be like, this is the definition. Do these things apply to what the fuck they just did?
Yep.
Huh, yeah. Yeah, then use that word. Like, I think that in this fucking westernized, I'd call it a Judeo-Christian culture.
Really?
And,
you're funny. You're funny.
That in this thing, like, the word sadism is not too close, but close enough to Satan that people just think it's like some devil shit. Like, I think before I looked up that word.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like, associate sadism with, like, BDSM and shit. And it's like, it doesn't have to be, like immediate sexual gratification. Like, you can just fucking enjoy hurting people. It doesn't have to be, like, some fucking, like, whips and chains and, whatever. Like, you can just actually enjoy hurting people.
And on that part, there's like the person you're hurting consents. That's the big difference.
Right. That's why they hate BDSM. That's why they hate sexual liberation, actually, and sexual freedom, honestly. Because, like, we don't want you to consent to being hurt by us. But, and I mean, it's on so many levels with the fucking antis, with the whole anti-trafficking movement. Like, one of the big things is they'll say, all sex work is paid rape. And it's like, but people have actually been raped. And you're telling them that, like, a brutal, like, gang rape that they suffered is the same thing as a consensual sexual encounter that they got paid for. Like, that's kind of fucked up.
See, and that's that bullshit. Like, and that's why they won't want that person there.
Yeah, exactly.
Guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
And a rape victim cannot be in the room while they're talking, and also have access to a microphone. They can't be on a panel with you.
Yep.
And but watch people like that. People who can't say the same shit on a loudspeaker with someone else next to them with a loudspeaker, if they can only say it in their fucking shitty basement meetings, they're shit. I say all my shit publicly. Who's gonna come after me for saying that we should kill rapists? Go ahead, come on, beef with me. Ooh, you're gonna make me real ashamed of my ideas. What, are you shitting me?
Right.
Like, no, I'm very happy about everything. I'll say it to everybody in every space the exact same way, right? And this is not, this is only a claim I can make because it's not like I have video evidence, but when I'm in employee engagement committee meetings and safety committee meetings at work, I don't say the workers or the people on the floor. I say the proletariat every time in those meetings.
Love it.
Because I don't run away from my shit. I am this. Them
Yeah.
niggas, they are that, but they know it's shit. That's, you're dealing with people that know their fuck faces.
Yep.
All right? And Stacey Abrams is a very incompetent member of the Black misleadership class. All right?
Yes.
And that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
It's 12 a.m.
Yes.
God damn it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but no, just the last thing I was going to say, though, is
Yes.
that, like, just sort of, like, going with what you were talking about, that is actually really accurate, because that's the way that they've formed their propaganda. Everybody online who disagrees with them, who has been in sex work or is currently a sex worker, is a pimp lobbyist, right? Or they're a fake account, or it's their pimp is running their account for them, saying, like, typing these things, like, tweeting for them, right? And then when it comes to their actual events where they host things, people who are in sex work are not allowed to be there. The only people who are allowed to be there are people who have really traumatizing stories about being sex trafficked. And that is intentionally done to try to move the narrative. And so then anytime somebody speaks up against it, it's like, oh, but you're pimp lobby, you don't count. Oh, but you're lying. Oh, but you're a pimp tweeting this. And your girls are locked up in a basement somewhere type shit. And it's just a very intentional, disingenuous maneuver. And I fucking hate it.
Yeah, fucking hate it. People like that, I mean... Gee, I wonder... Yeah, see, this is how we get kicked off YouTube. No, yeah. But there's a solve.
There is. One of the biggest ones, do you remember, I think it was Babe Colate was the YouTube channel?
They follow us.
Yes. That person is an undocumented sex worker, and they were actually set to speak at a panel. And literally, like, when they were ready to show up, the panel, like, put them out and said, well, we didn't realize you don't have papers, and we don't want to be accused of committing a crime, so you can't be here because you don't have papers. And that was how they got her, like, off this fucking panel to talk about their experiences in sex work. And it was, like, just, like, the grimiest fucking shit. We can't be in the room with you because you're a criminal, because you're undocumented. Ugh. But, yeah, but pro-women, though. Very concerned about marginalized women and exploited women. But we can't be in the same room with you because you're a criminal, because you don't have papers. But, you know, they fucking care.
But then those same people would turn around and be like, oh, we're voting for the Democrats because they support these undocumented workers.
Or like, well, we vote for Democrats because they support abortion, and women should have control over their bodies. Unless they've ever been engaged in sex work, in which case they don't actually know what rape is, and we need to make choices for them.
Yeah, there's really only one solve. There's only one solve. And I'd like for this video to stay up on YouTube.
Yes. I would like to think of it as self-defense, because remember, the RAPMs already came out and said... Once the war on patriarchy is won, sex workers need to be lined up and shot. Line them up against a wall and shoot them for being accomplices.
Oh yeah, and you see how they're winning that war on patriarchy by Joe Biden.
By working with the Catholic Church.
Working with the Catholic Church, by pushing Joe Biden, by revitalizing Barry Hussein, by dancing for Mayor Pete.
Yes.
Oh, I never said those words out loud like that before. What kind of bootlicker are you that you danced for Mayor Pete?
And it was a terrible dance.
It's a terrible dance if you dance. If you dance for a politician, like, fuck it. Like, you've actually graduated from bootlicker. I don't even know what you do. Like, you fucking, like kneecap deep throater? I don't know what the fuck you're doing. All right, this is some kind of tangent. Way off topic. It is 12:03 a.m.
Yes.
And so winecellarmedia.com. If you like supporting us in Acceleration Year, patreon.com/winecellarmediafund, where you can sign up. It is not a tiered system. And paypal.me/Phoenix and William if you want to dip over with a tip, soldier. Or whatever the fuck. All right. And yeah, acceleration, right? Like, I will stay up late and exhaust myself doing these things. And Chelsea Springler could not make it on the program, has a comrade Fluffy Snuggles. Their cat died. 18-year-old cat, if I remember right. I think I read the post. And then also they have just things are generally not going well. This is not the week for the Springler, all right? But they plan to come back next week, and they're going to start during Talk Fury, the feminist uprising to resist inequality and exploitation. And Talk Fury will be once a week, and Wine Cellar Media is actually hiring them for what we can afford to do the program. But I did present what the pay would be, and they were like, well, fucking shit, yeah.
Okay.
We're just like, and I tend to forget, we marginalized folks. We're like, look, I guess I would have popped up too. Like, nigga, what? To say shit that I already think? Unedited. Oh, I'm on.
Yes.
So, and then what we don't know yet is like if I'm paying the Springler directly or paying to Fury. But however, it's gonna, if you support the Wine Cellar Media, you are already supporting new voices coming in, and it's dope. And also with that camera angle to get the Harley Quinn poster, you can probably see that we have fabric there on the table.
Yes.
And
Sewing machine.
And that fabric came in from a comrade. Can you grab that box? Now we're just showing video. I can actually stop the audio recording. All right, podcast listeners. So yeah, on that that's one of our, and we don't want to say their name, right?
No.
But one of the homies from Facebook sent this fabric that we can use, and they sent a little help. And they sent 3 big ass motherfucking candy canes. God damn. These are some big fucking. You can kill like 3 rapists with these. Boom, boom. You Weinstein, Cosby, Turner, Brock. That is.
I'm down.
And I might put them in a vase and keep them as decorations. Right, because like stuff that people
doing that.
Yeah, stuff that people give me, yo. I'd be like, oh, that's so special. Like, look at this thing over here, right? All right, this is just for the podcast audio's off. Whatever. Right here is a Starburst that I've had for almost a year, and I keep it in that little drawer. And the reason why I keep this little Starburst is because someone gave it to me just to be nice. And I was just like, oh, that's so nice. Now, it was an awkward moment because I thought that this person was a sex worker using some sort of vernacular to see if I was a potential client.
Oh.
Because, like the way she walked up, like she was kind of grooving, and she's just like, hey, you want some candy? And I was like, I'm all set, thank you. And she was like, oh no, okay. And then she ate a piece of candy, and I was like, oh yeah. But then she pulled it out of her bra and handed it to me, and I was just like, that's neighborly, and I'm just gonna keep this forever. So this is
neighborly.
Yeah, so this is my titty burst that I got from a nice person.
Nice.
Yeah, so those 3 candy canes, I want to get a vase, and Phoenix will go looking for a vase. We'll pick whichever one we find.
Which will be a vase. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I mean, a vase is also an option.
So we're going to get a vase.
This is our nuance on this. And put the candy canes in those, and I'm probably just going to keep them forever.
Vase right there.
What, these vases?
Those vases, yes. Those were a Mother's Day present.
Oh, shit, so let's put a gift in a gift.
Yes.
Can the titty burst go in it?
The titty burst can go in the vase.
All right.
But you have to call it a vase.
Oh, no. That's not my vice. That's not how I wear my voice, really.
Oh, my God, nigga.
All right, Faceboo's Live. You have a great one. Harley Quinn poster. Yeah.
Bye.
All right. And the YouTube one.
Yes.
And you're out of there.